We are going to see a bunch of people who just watch the news and watch the headlines come through, and they're going to run out and buy their pre-tariff vehicle. Buy a vehicle before those prices get jumped up 25%. We're going to get a bunch of people who just blindly do that. And man, dealerships are very excited and they're licking their chops for those types of people. So many dealerships are living in a state of denial. They're refusing to admit that supply has far, far exceeded demand. The total package price is 18 grand. I don't really understand how we get to that price tag. We just showed you over here, 60,000 is how much the vehicle costs. With the cost of everything going up between your rent, your mortgage, your auto insurance over doubling in the last 2.5 years, groceries, you name it, people are just not in a position right now to go out and spend mortgage size payments per month for their auto loan. And here we have the lines upon lines of unsold Jeep Wranglers waiting for their owner, which may never come, right? Majority of these are 2024 units. And well, we're going to teeter very deep into 2025 before Jeep needs to get very, very creative to move this inventory. We are currently seeing the highest levels of 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day auto loan delinquencies within the United States. Americans are feeling trapped. They're feeling suffocated. They've gotten to the point where they cannot justify making their monthly auto loan payment. This same vehicle, not that long ago, was between that $55,000 and $65,000 range, which is still a lot, but at least bearable for what you're getting here. Do not be fooled by these dealers saying, hey, tariffs are going to spike up prices 25%. No, they won't. They can't even sell it with the prices as is. They're already wildly overpriced. Cost $80,000 to $95,000. There's a couple Ultimate Editions here that cost over $100,000. This has, unfortunately, become our new norm. And well, Americans are clearly voting with their pocketbooks. They're not coming out and they're not falling victim to it anymore. In an industry built entirely on greed, it appears that a lot of dealerships are realizing that reputation is more important than revenue. Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So dealerships across the country right now are shaking in their boots. They're very nervous because they have lost many of their returning customers. They've lost their loyal customers who have been coming back to the dealership for years, all because they deployed their greedy dealership tactics throughout the last few years. Really, since the pandemic, we saw so many dealerships deploying markups, ADMs, additional dealer markups over MSRP and upcharging their customers for their vehicles. Right now, dealerships have one of two choices to make if they want to stay afloat toward the end of 2025. I'm going to talk through those in today's video, so stick with me. And we're expecting to see 2.1 million vehicles repossessed here in 2025, which is quite a bit of an uptick, even over last year's 1.85 million and 1.5 million previously in 2023. It's largely thanks to vehicles like this, these fun weekend vehicles that people overextend themselves to get, then ultimately have to have repossessed. These Mustangs here are huge cash grabs, especially when they add on these packages, if you will, right? This one here is a Mustang GT, right? So GT Coupe Premium, you see up there, 2024. You're going to see a lot of 2024s as we teeter deeper into 2025 here, but $60,000, just under $61,000. But check this out. So here's the package that comes installed with this RTR Spec 2 package. The total package price is 18 grand. I don't really understand how we get to that price tag. We just showed you over here, 60,000 is how much the vehicle cost, but they still want dang near 100 grand for it? I don't get it. People just don't have the additional funds to justify buying these vehicles. These vehicles are what people get when money is quote unquote cheap, when interest rates are very, very low. But right now, they're just stacking up on dealership lots. And this one here is a Dark Horse. Let me remind you how much these cost. So we got a RIP tag on it, but $72,000 and some change for this Mustang Dark Horse Premium. No thanks. And I know I often show you guys trucks and larger SUVs, but it really does include dang near everything. These subcompact SUVs you see in front of me here, well, they are piling up. You go to any Ford dealership, you're going to see lines upon lines of unsold Ford Bronco Sports like what you see before me here. Nowadays, they're coming with a pretty large discount and incentivized interest rates, and even then, they still can't move this metal. Let me remind you of how expensive even these can get. This is probably among the most expensive. It is the Outer Banks example of the Ford Bronco Sport. Some quote-unquote more off-road oriented tires here and wheels, but this here is the price tag, just over 43 grand. Can you imagine spending 43 grand for a Bronco Sport? And even the commercial line of vehicles are sitting stagnant on many dealership lots. So we have some trucks here, some flatbed trucks over there, some larger Super Duty examples there, some vans, you name it. even companies are saying no thank you at this point. Do you recall throughout the pandemic and in subsequent years, it was pretty difficult to come across a desirable, trimmed example of the big body Bronco that you see before me here. It was pretty tough to find them, and when you did, man, that dealership was not budging on the price, or even more likely, that dealership was deploying a markup of some sort over MSRP. Commonplace was $10,000 over sticker, which is absolutely absurd. And well, the dealerships that did deploy those tactics, they're certainly regretting it now. And I gotta admit, as I walk down the Broncos here, I noticed that the vast majority of them are 2024 units. They have a bunch of unsold 2024 units, and we're almost to April. I would argue that many of these 24s are still going to be sitting here come July, August timeframe. But this one here, a two-door example, is still over 51,000, dang near 52 grand for it. And they still outsource production of the engine to Mexico. And I find it quite comical that so many dealerships are living in a state of denial. They're refusing to admit that supply has far, far exceeded demand, and many dealerships are still trying to live in pandemic times, pandemic pricing times. They want to be able to still rake the customer over the coals if it means trying to move their inventory. But they don't get that luxury now. They have to be slashing the prices. I'm talking $10,000, $15,000 off, and offering incentivized interest rates if they want any chance to move this metal. And you gotta admit, it is quite telling when America's #1 selling pickup truck is collecting dust on dealership lots right now. This line goes on and on and on. And well, this is not unique to this dealership here. Go to your local Ford dealership. You're gonna see a bunch of unsold F-150s sitting collecting dust or snow. So I really believe that dealerships have one of two choices that they can make right now. One, they can continue status quo, business as usual, hoping that there will be a large external shift in the market that will bring customers to their lots. That's one. Continue status quo, continue greedy tactics, or maybe hope for a government bailout of some sort. But the second choice is they can actually push this metal. They can move this inventory with large discounts and incentivized interest rates. Take a loss. Take a loss on their metal right now if it means earning a returning customer. If they issue a great deal to somebody, they're gonna wanna come back. They're gonna wanna come back to that dealership if they felt like they got an extremely good deal, right? Heaven forbid they do that. But many dealerships right now, they would rather push the inventory through auction. They would rather wholesale a vehicle for an even greater loss than what they would have gotten if they sold it to the consumer. They'd rather auction it off for a bigger loss, which makes zero sense to me because it's less of a headache to them. But I feel as though the dealerships that are willing to cut the huge deals right now and take losses on their vehicles sooner than later, they're the dealerships that are going to succeed. Those are the dealerships that are going to have a returning customer base. I mean, let's face it, Americans are fed up with paying these huge price tags on vehicles. Heaven forbid you need a work truck, right? If you're going to come out and get this F350 Super Duty here with the high output 6.7 liter diesel Power Stroke engine, you're not going to come out and spend $90,000 for it. Absolutely insane. This same vehicle not that long ago was between that $55,000 and $65,000 range, which is still a lot, but at least bearable for what you're getting here. And it's kind of sad, the more I look at these Super Duties here, every single one of them that I look at seemingly has a higher and higher price tag, which is absolutely absurd. With the cost of everything going up between your rent, your mortgage, your auto insurance over doubling in the last 2.5 years, groceries, you name it, people are just not in a position right now to go out and spend mortgage size payments per month for their auto loan. And that's really kind of what you're looking at with many of these examples here. If you're buying an F250 or F350 nearing that $100,000 mark, expect to pay anywhere from $1,600 to $2,100 per month, depending on how much you put down. Pretty insane. And if you get stuck with the national average interest rate on a new vehicle purchase of 7%, those monthly payments are going to go up even more. So much of that monthly payment is going toward interest every single month. And if you buy a used vehicle, which I have a hard time justifying right now because those interest rates are averaging right around 11%. Again, this is with great credit. If you have poor or even fair credit, you're still looking at probably 9% for a new vehicle purchase and up to 13-14% on the used vehicle purchase. No thank you. And it's hard to get wildly excited about going out and buying a Ford Ranger when those price tags are right around $50,000, $50,000 plus. That used to get you this vehicle here. You used to be able to go out and get a decently spec'd or a decent trimmed F-150, but not anymore. Let me show you here. This is an XLT. I haven't looked at the price tag of it, but I assure you we're going to be a bit steeper, and we are. Look at that, almost $68,000 for this Ford F-150 XLT. Absolutely absurd. When you consider the repossessions that took place in 2024 and in 2023 and what's projected here in 2025, and when you combine that with the fact that we are seeing an unprecedented level of new vehicle inventory available within the US, it really is a recipe for disaster when it comes to actually selling these vehicles for dealerships, right? Dealerships really are in a tight spot right now, but so many of them, what are they going to do? They're going to say, well, hey, come on out and buy your vehicle before those tariffs hit. They're really going to beat the drum on that. So expect that, but do not fall victim to that. Do not be fooled by these dealers saying, hey, tariffs are going to spike up prices 25%. No, they won't. They can't even sell it with the prices as is. They're already wildly overpriced. I'm showing you this on purpose, guys. The inventory levels are to the moon right now. They can't sell them as is. So vehicle manufacturers do not get the luxury to hike up those prices even more and expect them to actually sell, because they won't. Just for context sake, here at the beginning of 2025, we saw over 400,000 more brand new vehicles available compared to the beginning of 2024. And to go one step further, we are seeing 1.4 million more new vehicles available here at the beginning of 2025 comparatively to 2023, the start of 2023. So that growth rate has been unprecedented. It really is astounding to have seen over 120% growth rate in just the last 2.5 years. Kind of crazy. I mentioned it before, but I think it's an important drum to keep beating. We are currently seeing the highest levels of 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day auto loan delinquencies within the United States. Americans are feeling trapped. They're feeling suffocated. They've gotten to the point where they cannot justify making their monthly auto loan payment. And that's pretty sad. I mean, it's sad when you look at the growth rate of repossessions alone, right? And really, when you look at the average prices of these new vehicles, the average being $48,405 sold in 2024, that's the average new vehicle sale price. Absolutely absurd. And we talked about it a little bit before, but the average truck sale price was $64,266 last year. Insane. Over half of the auto loans out right now with truck buyers is over $1,000 per month. Let that sink in. And I want to be fair here. This is the most affordable Ford Explorer on this lot. This one here is an ST line 2025 Explorer. Let me show you what it looks like out front. But this one here is the most affordable on the lot right now at $50,000. None of them are in the 40s. A lot of Americans can't help but feel as though quality has gone down tremendously, all while the price tags have shot to the moon. I looked at each one of these Lincolns here. Many of them are over $60,000. A handful of them are high 60s, which is absolutely absurd. Tell me honestly, what was the worst greedy dealership tactic that you've witnessed within the last few years here? But conversely, let's not just be negative here. Let me know if you've worked with a great dealership. Even through the pandemic, was there a great dealership that you worked with that was not choosing to go the greedy dealership route and charge markups? Let me know, good and bad. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think things will get better before they get worse, or the latter? I personally do believe we are going to see a bunch of people who just watch the news and watch the headlines come through, and they're going to run out and buy their pre-tariff vehicle. Buy a vehicle before those prices get jumped up 25%. We're going to get a bunch of people who just blindly do that. And man, dealerships are very excited and they're licking their chops for those types of people because they're not doing any homework. They're not doing any research on it. And that is what they want to prey upon. So I'm telling you guys, do not fall victim to the whole pre-tariff sales pitch from dealerships. You're going to hear it undoubtedly. I do believe it's going to come and go pretty quick. Within 1 to 2 months, that wave of people who blindly go out and buy their pre-tariff vehicle are going to go out, buy it, overspend for the vehicle, and then quickly regret it. Then we're going to find ourselves back in this position, but perhaps even a little bit worse, right? Vehicle manufacturers do not have the luxury to hike up these price tags because we're seeing unprecedented levels of inventory right now. I mean, the nerve that they would have to try to upcharge you even more when they can't even sell them right now, that'd be stupid. And then you still have a lot of dealerships trying to deploy tactics like this. This is a very dolled up version of F-150 XLT. This one here has some aftermarket wheels, looks like Mayhem wheels, some running boards on it, obviously a lift kit. But man, look at this price tag. They hike it up for $24,000 over that already pretty high MSRP of $62,000, bringing it up to dang near 90 grand, which is absurd. And I personally do believe in karma. What goes around comes around. And the dealerships that were quick to take advantage of you and I, the consumer, well, they're going to get what's coming to them. They're going to get what they deserve. And likely that will come in the form of a large dealership lot full of unsold inventory and no customers walking it. In an industry built entirely on greed, it appears that a lot of dealerships are realizing that reputation is more important than revenue. That can go a long way. And so many of these full-size heavy-duty diesel pickup trucks here cost $80,000 to $95,000. There's a couple Ultimate Editions here that cost over $100,000. This has, unfortunately, become our new norm. And well, Americans are clearly voting with their pocketbooks. They're not coming out and they're not falling victim to it anymore. And unfortunately, when you walk any dealership lot, you're just going to see lines upon lines of vehicles that are high-spec, high-trimmed examples. Those higher-trimmed examples that are stuffed to the gills with creature comforts and luxury features, those are the vehicles that have a higher profit margin. The vehicles that are base model cloth interior steely wheels, they have a very small profit margin. So dealers really appreciated getting the higher-trimmed examples because they can make more money on people, dealerships and vehicle manufacturers alike. And heaven forbid you want to get into a full-size or a larger SUV, this Dodge Durango can scratch the itch. But that price tag being between $65,000 and $75,000, it just does not make sense financially. Especially when you look at the residual, the resale values of these Durangos, it's just not there. You will lose an arm and a leg comes resale time. And Ram pickup trucks currently have the longest days on lot time, teetering over 470 days on average. That is including all of the lineup, the 1500s, the 2500s, 3500s, you name it. These trucks just are not selling. When you look at the price tags, it begins to make sense, and people are just not coming out and losing this type of money on it. Especially again, when you look at the resale value, it's just not there. And here we have the lines upon lines of unsold Jeep Wranglers waiting for their owner, which may never come, right? Majority of these are 2024 units, and well, we're going to teeter very deep into 2025 before Jeep needs to get very, very creative to move this inventory. And this is only half the Wranglers on this lot. There's plenty more. And I personally follow a number of Raptor Facebook pages as well as TRD Pro and Trail Hunter pages. It's funny watching those dealerships. The dealerships that were charging markups throughout the last few years are now advertising the sales of their vehicles, their TRD Pros and Raptors, at MSRP. No BS add-ons or no BS fees added, which is pretty funny because even the Raptors now are coming with a $5,000 to $7,000 off discount regularly, and TRD Pros are coming with a $4,000 off discount. So kind of funny that now they're charging MSRP as if that's a great thing. It's not. It needs to be far less to move that metal. And you have this wildly overpriced behemoth here at $94,000. Or you can consider these Dodge Daytona EVs here. So this is a good option for the white dudes for Kamala here. But even these are priced at $62,000, which is absolutely insane. Let me show you around back. This epitomizes what is wrong with the auto industry, which is why we saw some changes being made to the EPA restrictions. Jeep Wrangler and the Jeep Gladiator have seen terrible sales throughout this last couple of years. They also saw the highest MSRP price hike since 2019. We talked about 42% being the national average across all vehicle manufacturers when it comes to an MSRP price hike, but Jeeps in particular, 54% price hike since 2019. Absolutely absurd. And it's kind of sad to me because the Jeep Wrangler at large, it really is an American icon. And historically speaking, they have held value extremely well. The residual value on a Jeep Wrangler has always been pretty good, but certainly not as of late. It's pretty sad. Walking this dealership lot here, it's not uncommon to see just lines upon lines of unsold Wranglers. This one here, pretty sad. As a parting shot, I am truly hopeful that a lot of dealerships learned the lesson throughout the last few years. You know, sure, they lined their pockets with those markups, those greedy addendums, but I'm hopeful that they are now witnessing and feeling the ripple effects of that. Everything has a second and third order effect, right? By them turning away their allocations right now, turning away their deliveries because they can't sell that metal on their lot, well, there's a second and third order effect of that. That's ultimately causing the vehicle manufacturer to lessen the production of that vehicle, which ultimately impacts jobs of people working at manufacturing plants and assembly plants, right? So everything has a ripple effect to it. So I'm hopeful that dealerships learned their lesson and they want to actually earn customers to be returning loyal customers to the dealership. And well, charging a markup, that totally nullifies that. So I'll wrap up the video there, guys. As always, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune in these videos. If you found any value in this whatsoever, I do respectfully request that you please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a ton, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.